Rumpier fam? Allie here with an update from all of the big wins this past week by our great Rumpier Sports members and hosts. Huge congrats to Rumpier's very own Kay Fallick on the big 27K day in college football.
Other RPS hosts to ship included Mangone with a 25K hit in NBA and AP who had a 12K NBA night after calling his shot on our Hardwood show.
The thing about Kuzma, he's 8K now. So I think he's more so a tournament play. I think that price tag is going to keep ownership down, but look to see where kind of the industry average is and then project them up. And then Daniel Gafford, I think, man, if he gets 30 minutes here, I'm going to say it right now, he's getting 40 plus fantasy points easy in this matchup. And I'm on the Wizards side.
But the biggest winners were our members who continue to crush it as we head into the new year.
In NHL, T. Wayrich took home 27K. In NBA, Bobby Hare hit for 12K on DraftKings, while Nick the Stick pulled in 17K.
Our football content is continuing a hot streak by producing winners, and our members are cashing in, including
JMoney75, who hit for 10K at Yahoo, and our biggest winner was Russell D, who repped the RPS brand while pulling in 150K in DraftKings Best Ball Millie Tournament.
And speaking of Best Ball Underdog, they are running a bunch of playoff Best Ball tournaments. If you haven't signed up, now is the perfect time to do so. By using offer code RUNPURE, you can get $20 with your first deposit.
We've recently teamed with SaberSim to offer a great deal on a combo subscription where you can access all of our content and their great optimizer and projection system for one low price, which will save you close to $50 monthly.
Head on over to RunPureSports.com to get the deals and start running pure with us.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. 7-game slate for NBA, but we'll get to the NBA talk, of course. Man, what a football game last night. Game of the year for sure. One of the best games I have ever seen with all the implications. What a tie would have done to the Steelers. Just Justin Herbert, time after time after time, fourth down after fourth down. That was one hell of a football game. I'm still excited for it. Did the bet show with Tyler and Spread earlier. Spread, of course, Raiders fan, absolutely was very happy. Tyler, Steelers fan. So what a crazy game that was. Fun show. Always check out the bet side. And then today, the national championship, college football, Alabama, Georgia. We were talking about a little before we went live. Bruce has the playbook up. BigT will have the player pool. Big prize pools in college football. So, Mangone, I got to go to you. On Saturdays, I'm an MMA guy. Hoop, I know now Hoop is an MMA guy on Saturdays now too. So we don't watch as much college football. I love betting the national championship. It's usually a day I try and bet pretty good action, have some fun with it. I have literally no clue this year though. Like when it was Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson, that was free cheese, of course. Some years seems obvious. I don't know what to do, Mangone. Help me out. And hey, people in chat, if you have a strong lead, drop it in there. Help me out because I'm still trying to bet this game, but I have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, that Mechie loss definitely hurts Bama a little bit in the, with the receivers. Georgia's got a good defense. They got good corners. I think we struggle a lot of the time. I mean, you saw Amanda Nunez, right? Oh, there's no chance Amanda loses, right? But then it's Ann New, and we might have it here. I mean, we had it, obviously, Bama, they're great. And it's them and Clemson have really duked it out over the past 4 or 5 years. But it feels like this Bama team's not as good as the past years. Now, of course, you don't want to bet against Nick Saban, and it's against his old coordinator. And of course, Saban crushes those guys. But there are times where things change and people aren't ready for it. And I feel like this is the time it changes. I do feel pretty good about Georgia getting the job done. I got a little bit on the -2.5. I kind of want to watch the game too. You always don't have to bet it live. It's a long game, so you can always just go and live bet it when you see the opportunities. So I might throw a little bit more on for the live bets, and I'm definitely going to be playing some college football DFS as well. And I think it's going to be a good time, and I feel pretty good about the slate. I think it's going to be a good one.
So Georgia was what you said. I like it. Tyler also said Georgia. There's two. Uncle T said Georgia. He was in the best chat earlier. So, man, it looks like Title might be throwing some cheese on Georgia, tailing you guys. Hoop, I'll go to you. I don't know if you are betting this game. Georgia also treated me right against Michigan. That was talk about a free cheese over there. Absolutely blew him out. But you're in the DFS in the college football streets today. Who Bruce's playbook's up. Make sure to take a look at that. Big T stuff will be up. Should be a fun game. I'm hoping you're going to take more than just an hour to watch that game. Are we finally going to get Hoop watching the game live, or same old Hoop? And any thoughts from you? I know you're not a big college football guy. You can say none, but what are your thoughts?
Definitely not watching the game. I'm playing the Showdown slate.
None.
Not
one
watching,
second.
I won't watch a minute of this game,
Wow.
regardless of having cheese on it. Like college sport, I just hate. I mean, it's a take that most people don't like, but I just can't.
Real quick, Hoop, if it's like 31-30, like the team's driving, you're not allowed to turn it on. Then you've already admitted you don't want to watch it. So if I hear you turn it on, we're gonna have to talk about this tomorrow.
I mean, I'm not watching this game. I will promise you. You guys can reach out. I think Title has Mrs. Hoop's number. He can shoot her a text.
I don't. I can shoot you. I don't though.
Yeah, well, I'm not watching the game. I will promise you guys. I'll watch any of these NBA games over this crap. College football is just awful. But I will have some action on it. And I just pulled up our boy Bruce's playbook. I have no clue. I've never heard of any of these players listed. I'm building my team strictly off Bruce's playbook. I've been here refreshing it all day. He finally got everything in it, I think, and finished like an hour ago. The Discord chat. I'm in the Discord chat trying to get some little nuggets. I'm going to find a way to get to the top of the leaderboard despite not knowing one player that is playing in the game tonight.
Hey, that's how you do it. Big T always talks about like his favorite sports to win are the ones he knows nothing about, soccer and stuff, where you just come in, you use the content, you're a member essentially. And Discord really helps out. Nuggets have been dropped all day. I've been in Discord scrolling a little bit. I think 100K up top today too, right? Who? $15, $100K.
I think $20 entry, 100,000 to first. There's some other 150s. I'm just doing the 150 through SaberSim too. We're using SaberSim here on our website. We have that partnership going with them. So Bruce's playbook, SaberSim, Discord chat. Don't know one guy's name, and you're going to see Hoop 2410 at the top. That's how it's going to go tonight.
Yep, yes, sir. That's how it goes. There was a show too, I believe, that some of the guys did. I think that's on the website, so make sure to check it out. Tons of college football content. Should be a lot of fun. Let's see.
Someone in the chat says Hoop rarely watches live sports. Yes, that is correct. Like I'll record the primetime games, play them back, go through the commercials. But this, I'm not even recording. Like I'm not. It will not be on any of my TVs today.
Yeah. Hoop does not watch live sports, but they have live sports, right?
That's got to be our next partnership. Run Pier and Hulu.
But here's the one last thing I'll mention about the show that Big T did that I want to talk about, because I listened to the whole thing. I thought it was pretty good. And Hoop, one thing to do that I think you might not do that I agreed with what Big T said when he was in the optimizer and he looks at all the projections. He said bump those kickers, like their projections are kind of not like they're too low. So, and I know you like that. You
don't have to convince me to bump a kicker's projections. You know that.
I just want to make sure, and I knew that stays on brand with you. And I know I'm bumping those kickers a little bit, so definitely don't ignore that.
I pulled up the one guy, and he's had like at least like 10 points, I think, in like 5 straight games. So I mean, that's encouraging to see. Kickers always get it done. I mean, look at last night. Our boy Carl's just pounding them in, just pounding.
Yeah, I mean, kickers have been a print fest for sure. But who runs more Pier than Hoop? Doesn't watch a second, just fine at the top of the leaderboards. That's what we can do at Run Pier. You don't need to watch. People, our coordinators watch it for you and do the content. Should be a lot of fun for sure. NBA tonight, always big prize pools. Let's see what chat's telling me, because I asked for your opinion. D-Gaz, Dogs Redemption, Nazify, Dogs. Kevin, Bama easy. William, always Bama. What else we got? Beefy Layer, Bama easy. It's pretty split. Drew Carpenter, love Georgia. There's a lot of it's really split. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to look more into it. Right now, Mangone, Tyler, Uncle T, looks like they're on Georgia, so I might have to tail, but should be a lot of fun. Make sure to check it out. Good prize pools. And Hoop, I got to ask you one more question before you get into it. You don't watch live sports, but man, tell me yesterday that when you were recording, you finally caught up with the game since it went to OT and all that, and you watched it live in overtime. Please tell me.
I did watch that game live at the end. I had it recorded. I got caught up, and I mean, one of the I'm a person, I've been on record numerous times. Like if I don't have action on a game, if if there's nothing that interests me in the game, I'm just simply not going to watch it. I could have watched that game without action. That was super intriguing. Like the way it all played out. They get that 15-point lead, and they say, all right, well, now the Steelers fans are looking much better. The tie less likely. Of course, the game gets tied, go to overtime, comes down to 2 seconds, kick, and the Steelers. It was fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, you really couldn't make up that whole game. I was texting my buddy. We were texting. I was like, man, if this goes in a tie, the simulation might be confirmed, as a lot of people like to talk about. That was so crazy. I was kind of sad. I'm not going to lie. I wanted to see Justin Herbert in the playoffs over Big Ben personally. Thought it'd be a little more fun, but Big Ben going out. You
can't lose to the Texans in week 15. I mean, that's what you get. I mean, they go in there, beat that team. Yesterday probably doesn't even matter. Lost to the Texans. And you look at the Colts yesterday. I mean, Colts pathetic performance. I wish Big T was on here so we could pound him about his boy. That was so hurtful to watch. That was painful. He just looks so bad every time he dropped back, and they get pounded by the Jaguars. Ooh, tough scene.
Couldn't imagine winning you're in and losing you're out, and you lose to one of the worst teams in football. The number one pick. That was tough for sure. But hey, now the only thing I keep saying that makes me a little happy is now we got Big Ben and the Steelers in the playoffs. Bet the Chiefs, free cheese. I even saw 12.5. I'm still laying. Whatever. I'm betting whatever the Chiefs are, and then just fade the Steelers and DFS. Don't play a single person. I mean, Deontay can get a little PPR, stuff like that. Actually, before you go I forgot our boy over there sitting real quiet was all over the Steelers stack this week as a low-owned in our 3-man contest. Mango, what do you got to say about the Big Ben stack this week?
I will say,
what happened?
We get one more chance to run it back with him if we want to. But no, I made a mistake and did not put the right run back. But I will say the good thing is we do our content on Tuesdays, right? So once the weather all adjusted, I was like, I didn't have one Big Ben stack except against you guys. That was it.
The weather.
I went to Russell Wilson. The problem is you're like, oh, you played Russell Wilson. That was sharp, but no, it didn't work out too well for me. Russell Wilson was good, but the rest, Jonathan Taylor, I actually just opened up our 3-man. Big Ben wasn't even the problem. It was all the snowflakes. I think I have 6 right next to each other just standing there. So my team is rough for sure that I'm looking at right now.
Who won that, by the way? I forgot to pull it up.
Title did, and it was because of Russell Gage, really. Russell Gage.
Who runs better? Who runs better than Title? That's the real...
Taysom hurt right away. What do you mean who runs better?
Who runs better than Title? That's what I want to know.
The Russell Gage, the only flame in his lineup, that 30.6. So that was a nice one that got the job done for you. So you won, I guess, lunch on us. I didn't know if I should do $10 or $20. I figured Hoop likes to eat a good lunch. I figured we'll make it 20.
Yeah.
So, lunch
but hey, a lot less expense. Who was the Uncle T? Wasn't he paying $80 or $100 lunches?
He paid $50 with me because what Uncle T
That's right.
I said Uncle T and I made a lunch bet, and the conversation went, how much do I owe you, Mango? And I said, however much Uncle T wants to pay for lunch. I don't know, whatever you want to do. And he sent me $50. I was like, okay, I guess Uncle T really pays for lunch. I mean, you can order.
He eats lunch with Big T every day. I mean, that's the going rate for lunch with Big T.
It's definitely an expensive one.
Uncle T is too nice. Uncle T, you're the man. But yeah, for all of you guys that don't know what we're talking about, the Tuesday show that we did during the regular season, we talked about it. We had some fun on it. The gross stack of the week. So that's enough talking football. Very fun week. Yesterday's game insane. Very excited for the Natty tonight. But we got 7 games in basketball. Pretty good slate here too. Before we get into it, hit the like button for us, please. We appreciate it. And then for Underdog, we have a promo code RUNPEER, and they're matching up to $100, which they have a lot of really fun playoff contests. I've been in there grinding. They have a $25. They have $5. And we've had content too. Simon and Snyder did a show, so make sure to check that out. There's a really big edge in this playoff Underdog contest. There's strategy to it. You have to stack. You have to pick teams that you think are going to be in the Super Bowl, pretty much is how it works, because it goes the first round, second round, conference, Super Bowl, etc. And if you stack and get the AFC and the NFC teams that you think are going to make it, you just got to hope you have ceiling games from, if you think Packers, Lazard, Devontae, Rodgers, stuff like that. It's 6-man. You draft, you go all the way through. A lot of fun. Make sure to check out the video, and then $100 matching deposit using the promo code RUNPEER. A lot of fun over at Underdog. But that's enough of football. Let's get into the NBA slate. 7 games. First game of the night, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Charlotte Hornets, 236.5 total. Milwaukee is favored by 2.5. We go to the injury report. On the Bucks side, Drew Holiday out, Grayson Allen out, George Hill out, Pat Connaughton questionable. You go to the Charlotte side, Kelly Oubre was put in health and safety protocols, but that's about it for them. Giannis is the top play on the slate, in my opinion. That's not a hot take at all. The raw points are there. There's no Drew Holiday. He just has monster games. These guys just played too, like 2 nights ago in a very fun game. And then Chris Middleton had a very good game as well. LaMelo, you can always run it back on the other side. So, Hoop, I'll go to you. Obviously, I think you're going to like Giannis as well, but is there any other pieces in this game you like?
Yeah, so I definitely agree with you. Giannis, top overall play on the slate. I mean, 237 total here. Bucks only favored by 2.5. So we have a massive total, close spread. I mean, that's ideal to deploy a guy like Giannis in. I mean, they have no answers for him. Should absolutely have his way in his matchup. And the Bucks are down some bodies too. So Giannis, clear top overall play, very easy to play him. We have a lot of value to make it all work. The next guy up for me, though, on Milwaukee is going to be Bobby Portis, who's just playing phenomenal basketball right now. Back-to-back games, 32 minutes, 37 minutes, 47, and 40 fantasy points. And I see no reason why he slows down here in a really good matchup. 6K on FanDuel, 6.8 on DraftKings, so better play on FanDuel, but to me, still in play on DK. Just a little bit annoying on DraftKings where he's only center eligible. It makes it a little more difficult to play him. But definitely a guy I want exposure to in full MME. Chris Middleton, maybe a fringe play. He has been playing well, 43, 40, 53 fantasy points. More maybe like a last guy in type thing, not a building block. And then on the Hornets side, LaMelo Ball on FanDuel, 8.4K. The minutes, though, just man, I don't get in. There could have been some blowouts in here. If you guys know, you can definitely hop in. But 23 minute, no blowouts, nothing. 23, yeah. 20.
Like last game, it was a close game. 23 minutes. I don't know why. Like his minutes are really scary. Mango will know more about it, but I don't get it.
I don't understand it at all. 23, 31, 29. 26. I mean, that takes me out. It makes me out on the 9.3K price tag, but on FanDuel at 8.4, I think you can still probably play him. Without Oubre, it brings a guy maybe like Gordon Hayward into the conversation a little bit more. Outside of that, not a ton of interest. I see Miles Bridges kind of popping a little bit. I'm not really going to play Miles Bridges here. He's the one that will probably draw the Giannis assignment. It's not going to be good for him. Nothing really on the Hornets side, but Giannis, Portis, Middleton for sure for the Bucks, and then like I said, LaMelo on FanDuel I think is fine.
Yeah, you made a good point, Bob. The Bobby Portis, like his ownership will be down because he's only center eligible. It definitely stinks, but he does have upside to break a slate there. Man, I'll go to you. Like, do you know what's going on with LaMelo's minutes? Was it foul trouble? Because like the Bucks game, I mean, it was close at the end. It was close. Like, I mean, they had a good lead for some of it, but it was still a close game. And the Bucks starters got a lot of run, 26, 29, 31, 23 minutes in his last 4. The usage rate, like he had 37% usage rate last game, 26, 30, 27. So if you told me he was going to play 35 minutes, which he should be playing, I'd be all over him as a run back in the game stack. But do you know what's going on? Because I don't.
Yeah, so he got in foul trouble. He had 5 fouls.
Okay, that's what it was then.
If I remember that game correctly, Charlotte won, which it says here, but they were like, Charlotte was down like a lot during the game, I believe. So they ended up in the fourth quarter, they went 31-25. So they were down 14 going into the fourth. And Charlotte definitely played really well in that second half. And I'm sure what happened too was, when you're kind of up like that and you're in that fourth quarter, I'm sure LaMelo fouled in that third, right? Probably picked up his fourth. And when you're rolling like that, you just don't go back to LaMelo. There's nothing you can do about it. Like there's no reason to. If you're rolling and he's sitting because of fouls, that's probably what happened. And that's the risk with LaMelo Ball. It's just simple. I think some people look at LaMelo and assume, yeah, he's fine. But the problem is, at that price tag, he has the ability to bury your lineups. I mean, yes, he has the ability to win you the slate too. And that's why he has that 9.3 price tag. If he was getting all the minutes throughout this year, he'd probably be 10K or he'd be 10.5. And you are paying for that, but you're paying for that nice little upside at that 9.3. But don't forget that downside is there and it can absolutely sink your lineups. Like that's like all these young guys, like Cade Cunningham. It can happen to him. It can happen to Cole Anthony. It's simple. So I think LaMelo is in play and in the conversation on this slate. The problem is I just don't know if I want to stomach that. It is not the greatest slate to pay up for stars. Like, it's not like you just have like a plethora of guys you're looking to slam into your lineups, at least at this time. There are some that you can play, which is why I think Lamelo does come into the conversation as an interesting option. Kelly Oubre is obviously not there. I think that's really good for Miles Bridges. But do I want to spend the 7-4 price tag on Miles Bridges? That's something I'm really debating. I don't know if I want to go up to that. Maybe I go to a Gordon Hayward at 6.3K. I mean, Gordon Hayward's upside at that price feels like a better tournament play than Miles Bridges, and also is at a little bit lower ownership. I like the conversation we're having here about the Milwaukee guys, especially Bobby Portis. I mean, Bobby Portis probably won't get a lot of ownership on this slate. I mean, if you just kind of look at and run some things, he's just not going to pop into lineups. And the reason why he's not going to pop into lineups, and this is a similar conversation that I had on, I believe it was Saturday when these guys played. Hassan Whiteside was at the 3.5K price tag. And everyone said there's no chance Hassan Whiteside can fail. The problem is, Hoop will bring in this conversation, positions matter, right? Because people are playing Hassan Whiteside, they're playing Mo Bamba, and what happens is they say, oh, you can't fade Whiteside. The dude was 95% in tournaments, like in the $200 last week. Like, you're telling me that on the slate that we played on Saturday, where there's no Wendell Carter Jr., there's no Drew Holiday, they get matchups against Detroit and Charlotte. You're going to tell me that you can't fade a 95% Hassan Whiteside for a 27% Bobby Portis and like a 25% Mo Bamba? Like, those guys can crush. And yes, Mo Bamba, he didn't get there as a complete value play, but Portis, who was the pivot, he absolutely smashed, and he's not going to be owned again. He's probably going to smash against Charlotte. I mean, he had like 37 or so. So I think Bobby Portis is a really, really strong pivot off of the Whiteside, who's now is still on a lot of teams, and he's at 5.2K. And yes, it's the Detroit Pistons, but there are routes where Hassan Whiteside fails. He gets into foul trouble. Utah goes a little bit smaller. They have a lot high usage guys that can chuck up the ball, like if Bogdanovich gets hot. Also, the game could turn into a blowout, and they just go to all these other scrubs, and they give Azubuike a little bit of run because, hey, it is the Detroit Pistons. So I think Hassan Whiteside, yeah, cash games, he's fine. I don't mind him in tournaments as long as you're smart about your full construction, but there's some really good center options. Like Nurkic, I think, is a better center. I think Portis is a really good contrarian pivot in this game. And also Chris Middleton, like, let's say you do fade a Giannis. Well, if Giannis happens to fail, it's probably because Chris Middleton is shooting a little bit lights out. So I think there's a lot of good options here on the Bucks side. And then there are some interesting runbacks on Charlotte as well.
Yeah, that stuff, like Nurkic is going to be popular. Whiteside's going to be popular. You only can play two centers max. Nurkic has been really good. Whiteside without Gobert, like, he's always going to grade out well as a fantasy point per minute producer. But we know Bobby Portis is ceiling, so I think it makes a lot of sense. As far as the Charlotte side, a Gordon Hayward, Bridges, LaMelo, like a PJ. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them get there. I mean, I assume one of them's going to get there and probably have a good game, but you're guessing on which one. And we talked about it previous on the show. The floor for some of these guys is a lot lower because they have so many guys that can fill it up. Obviously, Oubre being out does help. The floor raises a little bit, but Rozier can get hot. Hayward, Bridges, LaMelo, stuff like that. So I like the Bucks side. Wouldn't mind having a one-off on the other side, but I don't think it's a must on the Charlotte side.
Yeah, someone said Azubuike's out, but like, it doesn't matter. They'll put Whiteside's not closing the game. They're going to put in some other clown to like close, whoever it is. They're not going to, if they're up like 25-30, Whiteside's not just going to be in there. Maybe he's in there for like a couple of minutes, but he's not going to close it out with all those guys.
Yeah, they'd probably go like Pascal at the 5 or something like that. Azubuike is out though. Yeah, we're going to get right into that game. 7 p.m. Eastern, the Utah Jazz, the Detroit Pistons, 223.5 total. Utah's big favorites at 11 at 11. Go to the Utah side. Rudy Gobert, Rudy Gay, Joe Ingles, Jared Butler, Azubuike, Elijah Hughes, all out. You go to the Pistons side and Jeremy Grant out, Kelly Olynyk out, Frank Jackson out. So like Jeremy Grant and Olynyk have been out. So they don't have too much new injury news that we're looking at. Got to look at the Utah side. We talked about Whiteside. He's going to be popular for a good reason at 5'2", but we've seen him bust as well. So talk about that in tournaments. There's Jordan Clarkson, Mike Conley. The Utah side cannot be ignored. It's only a 7-game slate, so it's not like a 12-11 gamer that we usually have on the Mondays with infinite value and a lot of good teams. And we talked about it, but like the health and safety protocols, a lot of teams have been hit with it in the past month and stuff, and a lot of the teams are getting healthier. Utah's getting hit late, so they have a lot more guys out than everyone else. So Hoop, I'll go to you. Talk about Whiteside, Clarkson, Conley, the Utah side, and anybody on Detroit for you, because I'm not really seeing much outside of maybe Trey Lyles.
Yeah, Piston side's pretty easy. Like, there's not much to like there. I think Cade Cunningham has a good price on FanDuel. I believe it's like 6-6. I want to say like that's pretty appealing. I mean, if this game does stay close, I like Cade at 6-6. Obviously, there is some blowout risk here, but 6-6 on FanDuel. Be willing to play him. Not really going to be on anybody else on the Jazz side. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting because they've been without guys for a while. Haven't seen the big games from Jordan Clarkson that we kind of thought. We definitely haven't seen the big games from Hassan Whiteside that we thought. He's getting the minutes, just no production. But you know the story with Whiteside. Like he can go off in like 20 some minutes, go for 40, 20 fantasy points and 17 fantasy points. Not super encouraging. In tournaments, I don't hate going underweight on him. He's going to be highly owned. Like he's going to get big time ownership tonight. It's tough to avoid just because we know the upside. Donovan Mitchell 9-4 on DK, kind of tough. On FanDuel, he's 8-5. I think good play on FanDuel. I think Clarkson is a guy to consider probably more in like tournaments. He did play 28 minutes Saturday night against the Pacers, 28 minutes for Jordan Clarkson. He's typically over a fantasy point per minute. So I like his chances to kind of bounce back here. But yeah, with Whiteside, that's the interesting one because center once again is very loaded. I mean, we're 2 games in and now we're recommending another strong center play. We have Nurkic later, like you talked about, and there's other guys that we're going to want to play. Embiid's in a good spot too. So I don't mind, being off Whiteside a little bit in tournaments. Donovan Mitchell, strong play, Clarkson, and then Cade on FanDuel.
But real quick, if you're off Whiteside, Royce O'Neal at 4-5, if you need a power forward or a cheap value, he's a really good option to go to because it also allows the routes where if Whiteside fails, then maybe it's because there's more of the small ball lineups. And you could certainly see him down there really battling, and you could see him get some of those rebounds. Let's say Whiteside's boxing out more and he can't grab those boards. Well, Royce O'Neal's grabbing him, or it could also be because they went to the small ball lineups more, and Royce could definitely be down there banging down low. So I think Royce O'Neal is a really, really strong leverage play off of Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah, 4.5K. I definitely think it makes a lot of sense. We also, Junior talked about, Junior said Elijah Hughes was a hero Friday night. Elijah Hughes was a hero on Friday night indeed. What a game that was. Now another body out, JaRab Butler, same thing. The pieces keep falling for them. And then Colin said Trey Lyles revenge game. He'd be the only one I am interested on Detroit. Mangone, I'll go to you, the revenge narrative expert. Talk about Trey Lyles. And then if you faded what's on Whiteside at 3.5K a couple nights ago in tournaments, there's no way you're playing him today at 5-3 or whatever, right? Or 5-2 on DraftKings. So Hassan Whiteside, are you fading him in tournaments? Talk about Trey Lyles and anything else in this game.
Yeah, so when I did it, I had 2 teams. I had one with Whiteside, one without. And when I saw 95%, I was like, man, I thought it was going to be like 60 or 70. And I was like kind of tilted. I was like, I wish I faded on both. Like, I just thought it was the better route. But I am definitely going to – he'll be on maybe 1, but he's not going to be – I don't think he'll be on 2. I definitely want to be more underweight. And then looking at who's the other guy you mentioned? Oh, you talked about the guy who played really well the other day. The problem with this is – Donovan Mitchell is going to soak up a lot of usage, right? He's going to run a lot of the offense. So is Mike Conley. So
he's out too. Elijah Hughes is out too. I just mentioned it because Junior brought it up, but he's out.
I did want to talk about it because it's a good thing to mention, because if some of these guys slide into the lineup, Donovan Mitchell is in there now where he's stealing that usage. Like one reason why Forrest and Butler weren't as great, well, he only played with 1 basketball, and Elijah Hughes was lighting it up. Even Eric Pascal had 15 real life points in that first game. But yeah, no Trey Lyles for me. There's way better spots to go to on this slate. If you're playing Trey Lyles at 4.9, give me Royce O'Neal at 4.5 instead.
Makes some sense. 2 good games. If you can't ignore Utah, you definitely cannot ignore the Bucks side and stuff. So 7 p.m. Eastern, we're not waiting for as much news. I mean, the news we're waiting on is not even close to what we've been waiting on in the past. So I wouldn't be scared about plugging these first games in your lineups and going with that. Let's get into the next game first. We got 465 watching, 168 likes. Do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for us, please. We appreciate it. 7:30 p.m. Eastern, the Indiana Pacers, the Boston Celtics, 212.5 total. Boston is favored by 6.5. You go to the Pacers side. Malcolm Brogdon, doubtful. Karis LeVert, out. McConnell's still out. TJ Warren is obviously still out. Torrey Craig is questionable. So decent amount of news on this Indiana side. We go to Boston. Peyton Pritchard is the only one out. I don't know. Indiana's without some bodies, Miles Turner, like Al Horford on the other side. I'm not really seeing too much in this game, to be honest. It's a low total. I like the other two games more to start. Mangone, I'll go to you. I think it could be a cross-off game, if anything, a one-off. But do you see it the same way, or am I missing something?
Yeah, I'd argue this is like one of the worst games on the slate. Like, good luck figuring out which Celtic to go. If you want to use a contrarian spend up on like a Brown or Tatum, sure, like you could. They could have a big game, but I think there's better guys that you can do that with. And then on the Pacers side, if you happen to get Brogdon out, which we're kind of waiting on that news still, and the slate has changed, James Harden is now ruled out, which I had a feeling someone on the Nets would get scratched. It kind of made some sense. I'm sure they're in Portland. I'm sure it's like a long road trip for them. So it kind of makes sense to do a little bit of staggering, especially with Kyrie's back situation. You could assume play him on that first road trip game. And then, if anything ever arises, he's an easy guy to sit. So I don't know, maybe it is an injury, but I thought that was something that could happen. So that changed the slate a ton. But continuing with the Celtics and Pacers, not much I want to like here unless guys are ruled out. If you tell me a Brogdon is ruled out, a Sabonis spend up is interesting, but I don't think I want to go there, especially now with this news with Harden, because KD is going to be a way better play, especially against Portland. You also have Kyrie as an interesting spend up option now, even at that 8.8K price tag, and some other guys that might fill in there. Like you could have a Patty Mills at 4.9 kind of pop up a little bit, or some of these other options. Like maybe it's a Cam Thomas who gets that nice little second unit run, and then maybe he closes if the game actually kind of blows out a bit, or maybe he earns some playing time as well. I know David Duke has been starting as well. So obviously we'll talk about the Nets, but the point I'm getting at is this is a bad game.
Yeah, I was pretty much going to fade this game even before that news. Now with this news, I think it's easy to stay away on the slate. Hoop, I assume you're the same way going on the next one?
Yeah, just not really much here. I mean, typically these are two teams that we don't like to play. Yes, we were on the Pacers when they had the injuries. Well, now these prices are starting to creep up a little bit. We were playing Sykes at 3.5. We were playing Dwayne Washington at 3.8, 4.1. We were playing Sabonis when he's in the 9K range. Now these prices have adjusted. There is some uncertainty around Brogdon's availability today. Just not a good spot. And then on the Boston side, they're a great team to fade almost every single night when they're at full strength. They just have so many guys, so many ways to potentially get it done. They're at full strength right now. I see no reason playing when the only guy, maybe Al Horford. He's cheap, but man, has he been bad? I mean, he just has not been good lately. He's kind of losing minutes too, so there is some risk, but the price is good on him. Long story short, if you're looking to cross off a game, like this is the ideal one. I just don't see many ways you get burned here, barring overtime.
Yep, for sure. A couple people in chat are talking about Lance Stevenson, Lance to make him dance. Yeah, I mean, what a story that's been, him coming back. 5.5, I wouldn't play him, but
I mean, it was a great call by Big T the other day, Title, but like the price is different, right? It's not a full punt. That slate was a little gross for sure too. And this isn't a great slate either, but you're not paying 5.5 for Lance, I don't think today. I just think it's a mistake. Yeah,
I was going to say the price came out. What a call by Big T. Lance to make him dance, shipping a lot of cheese. That was a lot of fun, but I wouldn't play him on this slate. I think 7-game slate. I think you make it a 6-game and cross it off. Let's get into the next game. San Antonio Spurs, New York Knicks, 212.5 total. The Knicks are favored by 6.5. You go to the Spurs side. They have a lot of injury or health and safety protocol news. Derek White, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Doug McDermott, Trey Jones, Thaddeus Young, all are out. You go to the Knicks side. They are a little more healthy. Derrick Rose is out, obviously, for a while. Nerlens Noel, doubtful. But Kemba and Fournier are questionable. If both of them are out, like quickly, Alec Burks, I think would be pretty interesting. As far as the Spurs side, I mean, you got to have a little interest in some of the value pieces. Lonnie Walker, 4.2, shooting guard and small forward eligible, which is always nice. Bates Diaw at 3.8 is going to get them some minutes. Bryn Forbes, Joshua Primo, Jakob Poeltl, 6.1. I mean, the prices are pretty good. DeJounte Murray, 9.7. I'll never say no to him as a spend up. I think this Spurs side is interesting. The Knicks side could get more interesting if Fournier and Kemba are ruled out. I'll go to you, Mango, and talk about this game.
Yeah, we kind of need news on the Knicks. Like, yeah, 9.1, Julius Randle's not like a terrible spend up option, but I really don't think I need to go to these Knicks. If news hits, then yeah, we can re-talk about it and figure it out. The Up the Lock Show can help you out with that. Check the content to see if things update for that. I think on the opposite side, the Spurs are very intriguing. I mean, DeJounte Murray at 9.7, I think he's a good play, but like, I do wonder what the ownership's going to be on him, because I think
it's got to be low. It's got to be low now with Giannis and now with KD and Kyrie without Harden. Like, I think that makes him like single digits, which could be elite. Is that how what I'm thinking? We just got the news. We're all talking it.
Well, it's a good point you bring up, because I think before this news, he was going to be kind of owned. I think, like, based on the studs at the top, like if you're ranking him, he was one of the better studs on this slate. Not that that's changed his situation, but it has changed the ownership a bit, where I think he becomes a bit of a better play based on that at the top when you're looking at these guys. If you look at a, KD, right, he's going to grade out better. Kyrie's going to grade out better. And there are already other options that you were spending up on. So he can gain a little bit more lower ownership. I do think Murray has became a better play, but I want to talk about some of these other Spurs that I find kind of interesting. I've been trying to figure out how to dive into these guys and break it down. Like, I think Jakob Poeltl is not a bad option at 6'1". It's just center is deep, but you are going to get him at a very low ownership. And he also has the ability to drop like 40 fantasy points against the Knicks here. So, the Knicks like to play big. They're going to need him in there because they're kind of shorthanded when it comes to big men. So I think Poeltl is actually a pretty good play at 6'1". And, I didn't realize he came back. They played yesterday, but I think he's kind of in play here. Lonnie Walker, if he's starting, and I think the starters matter a ton, I think he could be a good play. But I think Bryn Forbes is someone that I wouldn't completely ignore, because he's a guy that's willing to shoot. We like opportunity, and he can easily gain closeout run. He could easily take the minutes from one of these other guys. So I don't think that a Bryn Forbes is a bad option in tournaments. They're mix and match throughout your lineup. So don't completely ignore him. And then between Josh Primo and Jock Landale, what I did when I kind of dove into these guys is it seems like Primo becomes that starter. And if he gets a ton of minutes, sure, he could find his way there, but I think there's some volatility in his minutes coming off of that, going in as a starter with like a Bryn Forbes now not starting with Lonnie back, where you could see his spot get stolen. You could also see Jock Landale steal his spot. And the thing with Jock is I think he's a better play than Primo straight up. And I kind of crapped on Big T, texted him the other day saying, like, I've liked all your off the board plays, but Jock Landale was not one I could get behind. And then, of course, that day Lance just goes absolutely off. But the reason why I wasn't as high on Jock, and I hadn't looked into him much, but I didn't think his minutes would be great. But he is going to get that. He's going to be on the second unit with Bryn Forbes, so he will have some opportunity to chuck the ball. And he has the opportunity to win those minutes over. I don't think Primo playing next to DeJounte Murray the whole time and the possibility to lose minutes is a great route to go Primo. I think I'd rather go Landale in tournaments to take a shot, but I think there's way better values on this slate. If you are playing guys, that's kind of my breakdown of how I would handle this game, but it's not like the sexiest game on the slate.
No, I'm with you. It's not the sexiest game, but they have value pieces. Some of them are going to get there. Like, they have injuries. They have value pieces. We have Giannis as a spend up. We have now KD, Kyrie, DeJounte. Like, it's a 7-game slate and pretty much a 6-game slate with how we're talking. We're going to need some value pieces if you're going to want to play some of these studs. So, I mean, yeah, Diaw or Bates Diaw, Lonnie Walker, Primo, Forbes. I think the Jakob Poeltl call you made sense. You can always talk me into Jakob Poeltl. He's treated me very well in the past. Should be probably single-digit ownership again at the center position. So the only problem is it's pop. Like, we don't know. Like, Primo, yeah, he might play 30 minutes. He could play 15 minutes. That's just the risk you're taking. Hoop, I'll go to you. It's definitely not a game you can ignore. The Spurs side is definitely better. Could be really good all around, though. I mean, if Kemba and Fournier are out. So talk about it, because there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, the San Antonio side, the way the slate's shaping up, you're almost forced to play some of these guys. Like, you can't avoid this situation. It's the best spot really for value. You have guys in the 3K, 4K range that are just going to have to play like 30 minutes because they don't have the bodies. So Primo, Lonnie Walker, Bates Diop, Bryn Forbes, the Landale dude in tournaments. Like, you're going to have to look at these guys to roster some of the studs, to play Giannis. And, I agree with Mangone. I want to see the starters here because a lot could change. This Primo guy played, 39 minutes last game. Like, we have to see who starts. Lonnie Walker, Diop, I think will start regardless. He's a fine play. Bryn Forbes, I like. Bryn Forbes, I think, really cheap on FanDuel.
Check out price out on that.
He's 4.7. Just kidding. On DK is really cheap, right?
Yeah,
4K on DK.
Yeah, 4-0, right?
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, long story short, you're going to have to play some of these guys. I want to see the starters. And then on the Knicks side, kind of depends on the news. The one guy, Randall, obviously you can play as a spend. I have interest in RJ Barrett, too. He's been playing well, playing a lot of minutes. I think his minutes continue regardless. 41 minutes, 33, 43 minutes, and he's been pretty productive. So I like Barrett. regardless of the injury news, but he would become a better play if Walker and Fournier are ruled out. So it's a game that, especially on the Spurs side, you're going to have to come to.
For sure. Mango, were you trying to say something?
I was, but it's not a big deal. I'd rather talk about Ankers. He's got a comment in the chat. I'd rather trust my ex over Pop first and his rotation. So that was a better comment than what I was going to say.
I mean, man, we all feel the same way, but like, man, some of this value on a 7-game slate, like I agree with Hoop. You're going to have to play some of it. Trusting Pop is never fun. Just kind of how the slate works out if you want to play some of the studs in good spots. But hey, I agree with that comment for sure. Looking at the likes, 523 watching, 208 likes. I'll be easy. I'll say in between. I'll say 260 likes. 250 is a little too easy. 275. I won't even push it that much. 260 likes should be really easy. 3 games left. We appreciate you guys hanging out. You guys always make this show a lot of fun in chats. Appreciate the good mojo. College football tonight, NBA. See the Run Pure Sports our Run Pure Sports logo up top. Let's get into the next game. 3 games left. Philadelphia 76ers, the Houston Rockets, 226.5 total. Philly is big favorites at 10. You go to the injury report on Philly. Tyrese Maxey, Shake Milton, Paul Reed out. Seth Curry is questionable, which is kind of big news on this slate. I mean, on this slate, it's one of the biggest news when Fournier, Kemba, Seth Curry are pretty much the biggest news on the slate. You know, the injury news is trending in the right direction for the future, but Philly news, there's definitely a little bit. Seth, they'd be without a lot of ball handlers. As far as the Houston side, Eric Gordon, Sengun, Armani Brooks, all are out as well. Yeah, I mean, like Korkmaz at 4.9K, I think he's a strong play. I think he'd become a very good play if Seth Curry was out. Matisse Thybulle, talk about more value on this slate. Like if you don't want to trust Pop, I feel like you'd have to go to a Thybulle who, you know, you're getting some minutes at 3.9K. Christian Wood at 7K, another center that I think is a good play, but he's center eligible only, so that's tough. If you want to go David Nwaba on Houston, he'll get some minutes. He's 3.3K if you don't want to trust Pop's minutes. Josh Christopher, 3.5. So I guess if you don't want to play the cheap Spurs, I think you come to this game for some of the cheap options is how I'm approaching it. And Embiid 11K at center. I'll go to you, Hoop. I mean, there's some plays in this game. Seth Curry, I think, is pretty big news on this slate. Korkmaz, I think, would be a lock, in my opinion. I guess lock is never a word people like to use, but he'd be a very strong play if Curry's out. Talk about this game.
Yeah, I mean, so you have guys on the Philadelphia side that are already pretty good plays, and then if Seth Curry's ruled out, they become, you know, priority type plays. And Korkmaz is one of those guys. 4.9 on DK, 5.3 on FanDuel. Fine play as is, but if Seth Curry's ruled out, he becomes an even better play. Same can be said for Thybulle. And then, you know, if Curry's out, I'm going to be looking to a guy like Tobias Harris. I mean, he's 8K on DK. It's not super comfortable, but man, like he'd have a lot of ball handling responsibilities and a really good matchup against the Rockets. 7-8 on FanDuel would definitely like him more. I think he's the one guy that might be a little more dependent on that Seth Curry news for me. Like if Seth Curry's in, I'm probably not playing Tobias, but if Seth Curry's out, I'm definitely going to be playing Tobias. Like Korkmaz and Thybulle, I think, are in play regardless. They just become stronger plays. And then Embiid, he's at that center position. Center's loaded. I have a feeling he's going to come in at pretty low ownership, especially now that we have this James Harden news. So Embiid in tournaments, you know, especially if like Seth Curry's out, he gets a matchup with the Rockets. And if this game stays close, there's just no way he doesn't smash here. So very interesting guy because of the position that he plays. And the potential situation on the Rockets side. Christian Wood, 7K on both sides. You can definitely play him. Outside of him, I don't have much interest. Like I said, Korkmaz, Thybulle, 2 of my favorite plays in this game. Become better plays if Seth Curry's ruled out. Tobias Harris becomes a play for me if Seth's ruled out, and then Embiid gets a boost as well with Seth Curry. I'm not really going to mess though with like damn sure Danny Green would go into the starting lineup. I'm not playing Danny Green. Like Danny Green sucks. Like I'm just not doing it. So yeah, it's kind of where I'm at here.
Yeah, like we always like picking on Houston. Like they're just a DFS print. Whoever plays Houston, if the game stays close, you're going to print. Joel Embiid, like I would not be surprised if you look and you see Joel Embiid with 70 burger today as the highest scorer and he's 10% or whatever, 15 or whatever, just because of the position. So like that call. We got Dakota in chat. He said Garrison Matthews. I mean, 3.9, like, I mean, sure, like Garrison Matthews 3.9, even Kevin Porter 6.2, Jayshawn Tate 5.2, Tobias 8K. Like anytime the Houston Rockets play, I have interest in some of their guys because they are a little short. Then I have interest on the other side. Like this could be a game stack top to bottom, I think, and you can have a lot of fun with it. And it's probably going to go overlooked a little bit, and it can get tastier if Seth Curry's out. So, man, go and talk about Garrison Matthews for Dakota. Talk about Embiid, Thibault, Wood, Korkmaz. I mean, talk about this whole game.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the game stack idea because I do think like if there was like a sneaky game stack, like this was it, at least before like, you know, thinking about this like Nets news. I don't really know. I mean, people are on the Blazers, so I'm sure that would obviously be gaining more ownership. But I thought from like being a sneaky perspective of game stacking, I thought this was kind of one of those. I obviously think that if Seth Curry gets rolled out, yes, more ownership gains on some of these guys. I think Korkmaz becomes a better play. A guy that might gain a little bit more run from that is what they might do is they might put Korkmaz more a little bit at the, I could see them putting Korkmaz at like maybe he starts and runs the point and they kind of take him out and it gets a little staggered of like who's running the show between Harris, Embiid, and Korkmaz. But Thibault clearly wouldn't be running the show. And of course, with Thibault on the court, that's a guy that's not going to be running stuff. And that's going to help all the other guys fantasy wise because he's better for defensive purposes. But I think Georges Niang could kind of jump out there as a really interesting option that gets a lot more responsibility with that second unit. Like I wouldn't even be surprised if they slide in one of these other guys like an Isaiah Joe or like a Charlie Brown into that starting lineup. I believe those guys are both in, but you might not see an actual usage guy go in there and you just might see more responsibility for a Georges Niang off the bench and more opportunity. So that's something to watch for. And I believe this is a Georges Niang revenge game, I think too. I think this is correct. I think he got picked by Houston and Houston was the team. I think he was like afraid of flying. I think that's the guy. Played for Iowa State. Maybe someone in the chat can tell me, but there wasn't.
Niang played for Iowa State. I know that for a fact.
Yeah. He was afraid to fly. And then like, I think like they were very difficult with him, like trying to like figure that out because he wanted to take like the bus to games. And I think it was a really bad breakup. So maybe it's been a while. I don't know how he's done against them, but a little revenge factor there. But I think Niang, regardless of that, I think he can gain a lot more. And then I think you brought up really good points about some of these other guys here on that Houston Rockets side. No one I'm like slamming in my lineups, but at the price, like Christian Wood, it's a tough center position, but if I could roster him somewhere else at 7K and on FanDuel, I think you roster him at power forward. He's kind of in play. If you think small forward's a little weak, which I don't think it's great at this time, 3.9K for Matthews is not the worst idea. And it's not like Philly scares you from the 3-point line. And of course, Thibault's not going to be on Matthews. He's going to be on other guys. So that could funnel some shots his way. So it should be really interesting. I don't think this game is too bad here as a little bit of a mini stack.
That was not Georges Niang. The chat was all over it. Right? The chat was all over it right away. Yes. Royce White. So yeah, but hey,
yeah. I don't remember that. Now I want to look this up, but it was a very funny story. And I didn't know if that was him. It wasn't Niang though. Niang,
oh yeah. That's why I love doing shows with you, man. Going, I learn something new every day that I never would have learned in my life. It's fun to hear stuff like that. I mean, I couldn't admit, like, being scared to fly is a thing, but like, man, you want to take a bus to every single game?
No, it was an amazing story at the time. Like I was following along with it because I was like, this is incredible. Like, because it was a fight between like him and the team, and then I think he joined like the Big 3 league, maybe it was recently, but it was very funny. And yeah, Niang, it wasn't him. I believe Royce White played at Iowa State though.
Yeah, Josh said they did both go to Iowa State though. So.
Okay, so I wasn't way off. Like someone said I was way off. It's a little close. It's like, probably not perfect, but yeah, it was a funny story.
Even if you're way off, hearing a story like that I would never hear in my life, I appreciate that, man. Going, I mean, man, I got to look into that now. Someone taking a bus to, I don't even know. I don't even want to ask questions or get into that. But yeah, I mean, it's a good game. It's a good game stack. I think he does go pretty low owned. Yeah, I think this game makes a lot of sense. Could get even better if Seth Curry is out. Let's see, man. I looked at the likes probably like a minute, if that, after I said that. And you guys absolutely smashed it. 256 already. I saw 257. Someone just took it back. Maybe that's because Matt Gone didn't know Royce White and Niang, but hit the like button. We appreciate it. You guys absolutely smashed it. Appreciate you guys in chat. You guys always make the shows a lot of fun. Couldn't do it without you. Excited for it tonight. College football, I keep saying it. I'm pumped though. But we got 2 games left. The Brooklyn Nets, the Portland Trailblazers, 227.5 total. Brooklyn is favored by 9.5. That was before this Harden news, so that could have already changed. It probably already did, but I'm not sure. As far as the Portland side, Dame's going to be out. I think I saw like 8 more games, it looked like. CJ's still out. Norman Powell's out. Larry Nance is out. So a lot of big names on Portland that's out. As far as Brooklyn, Joe Harris is still out. LaMarcus Aldridge is out. And James Harden is out. Without James Harden, Kyrie is back in. So it's not like just plug in Kevin Durant and move on. Kyrie's in on the road. Kevin Durant. There's still Giannis on the slate. People were talking earlier, like, what does this news do for Giannis? I still have Giannis as the highest raw points player on the slate. I still think he's a very elite play, but at least the ownership's going to be spread out a little bit. And then we were talking earlier in the show, like some of this Portland side's going to be owned. Nurkic 7K, Anthony Simons 6'4", Nasir Little 5K. Robert Covington's finally playing better basketball at 4'9". Ben McLemore slid into the starting lineup last night. He's a hooper, as we know, 3.3K. So this game could be a lot of fun, I think. I'll go to you, Hoop. Talk about the Harden news, what it does, and anything else in this game.
Yeah, so I mean, the Harden news, obviously, it's a boost for Durant and Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, 7.8K on FanDuel. I think that's a good price. He looked good. I mean, he played 31 minutes. The minutes are just going to come up. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets like 33 or 34 minutes here. And if that's the case, I think he's a good value on both sides. 8-8 on DK, 7-8 on FanDuel. Yes, there's some risk with Kyrie Irving, but there's going to be one of those games where Kyrie comes out and goes off and people don't play him because they think his price is too high. And be like, damn, I should have played Kyrie. I wouldn't be surprised if this is it. There's not much resistance on the Portland's defense. I can't remember the point guard. It was last week. It's Trae Young. Like, Trae Young was doing whatever the hell he wanted against this defense. They have like no resistance whatsoever. I could see Kyrie like going off here. So I really like Kyrie Irving. I think he's a great play. One of those plays where you kind of get out ahead of the curve before he starts, gaining some traction. This is what the Nets are going to do. It's honestly, this situation is perfect for the Nets. Like, if they don't have Kyrie, James Harden probably grinds it out and plays tonight. Well, Durant might be Harden might be a little sore. Say, just take the night off. We got Kyrie waiting. He hasn't played in 3 games. It's going to be like the nut situation for them, just helping their team. So big boost for him. Kevin Durant, good price on DK. I mean, 10.6, that's a very fair price tag. I mean, that's $1,400 cheaper than Giannis. Probably still like Giannis, probably still want to find the $1,400, but it's a pretty substantial difference. Not as big of a difference on FanDuel. I believe it's only like maybe $400 or something like that. So prefer Durant on DK. Patty Mills a little bit, 4.9, 5K on DraftKings. He's an okay play. I mean, it really doesn't change too much for the rest of these guys. I mean, you're just taking Harden out and you're putting Irving in. Relatively similar players. I mean, Irving will play a few less minutes and not be as ball dominant, but I don't think it changes a lot for these other guys. Just obviously the big boost for Durant, boost for Kyrie, and then on the Portland side, we got some plays here. I mean, Anthony Simons has just been balling out. I mean, they're running plays for him. He's playing phenomenally well. 21 shots, 17 shots, 15 shots, 17 shots. He's going to keep chucking 35 to 40 minutes. If this game's close, I think he probably hits the 40-minute mark because they're going to want to beat the Nets. 60, 45, 31, 45 fantasy points. The guy's just playing some serious ball now. And you have to imagine now with Harden out, chance of this game staying close go up a little bit. The spread went from like 10.5. Now it's down to like 8.5. So 2 points in the favor of the Trailblazers. Nurkic has been playing very well. Center is loaded. I mean, you're making sacrifices if you want to play Nurkic, but he's been worth the sacrifices. 46, 38, 42, 53 fantasy points. He's doing it all on the court. 9 assists. Was that last night? Yeah, 9 assists. I mean, he's playing some serious basketball. He's a fine play. Not as interested in like Little and Covington. I do like McLemore though at the 3.3K. I mean, he's capable of getting very hot from 3, and that scores well on DraftKings. So as long as he's starting again at 3.3K, he's another value guy that we can look to tonight.
Yeah, this game's definitely good. And I think like we might be seeing this when they're on the road this year now, because Kyrie's just doing the road for right now, who we'll see about whatever. But like, I could not be surprised. Like Kevin Durant sits out on the road game, gets a little rest.
Yep.
Harden, like you don't.
It's literally going to be like the nut situation for them because they can do this all throughout the rest of the regular season.
Yeah, they know they'll be in the playoffs. They know the rest. I mean, Steve Nash will roll Kevin Durant out every single minute in a playoff game. So getting him rest here. So yeah, I think getting ahead of the curve on Kyrie, 8.8K. I mean, the first game he came back, he played like 30 minutes. Steve Nash said, we're not going to like push him high 30s, but he's going to play 30 minutes. I mean, it's only going to trend upward. We know Kyrie Irving, the basketball player, he is at 8.8K. So really like that call. Some people are asking about Claxton in the chat. People are asking like, because LaMarcus Aldridge is out. The thing about Claxton is he's 5K and he's only center eligible. And there's so many other centers that I just prefer more. On the net side, I think it's pretty easy. I think it's Kyrie. I think it's KD, and I'm pretty much going to avoid all the other pieces personally. And to be honest, I like Claxton more when Harden is playing, because on that pick and roll, those two are so good with each other. So no Claxton for me. If you are playing Kyrie or KD, though, you have to play some of these Portland guys, because if it stays close, Anthony Simon is going to be a big reason why. Nurkic has been playing a good ball, big reason why. McLemore, Little, Covington, like the prices are good. If you're playing one of KD and Kyrie, I feel like you have to play some Portland. Mangone, I'll go to you. Talk about KD and Kyrie, because we still do have Giannis and other spend-outs on the slate. Talk about the Portland side.
Yeah, so the Portland side, Anthony Simons at 6'4", still a really good play. Point guard and shooting guard eligible. You can mix and match him throughout. Also like Ben McLemore at 3'3". I mean, he's going to chuck up shots, like regardless if it's a blowout, if he's even starting. I think either way, he kind of gets a decent amount of run. Like, it just wouldn't surprise me. I'm watching the game, right? Let's say the Portland Trailblazers are getting blown out. They bring in some of these other guys. They bring in Watford. They bring in Ellaby. I'm like, you know who might be in there still? Ben McLemore chucking up shots, even though he starts. I could easily see that scenario. Yes, it could be Dennis Smith Jr., but I think there's just a lot of good pass for Ben McLemore, especially at his price and what he allows you to do throughout your lineup. Nasir Little at 5K, I think he's a decent option. He's going to have to be on the court a ton. He can definitely help with the peripherals. Robert Covington at 4'9", he's okay, but not a guy I'm like jamming in my lineups. I think his downside can be a bit rough. So that's one of the concerns I have. And Nurkic at 7K, they're going to need him if they want to stay in this game. It's a back-to-back for Portland, so that's one other issue. But the one thing that's nice is it is in Portland. And, man, I believe he came just short of the triple-double last night. He got 14, 9, and 16. So his role within this offense is incredible. And I'm not ignoring him. He's definitely one of the best centers on the slate. And he's still a really good value, I think, at 7K. You can argue that the role should be an 8K guy, maybe 8.5. I mean, it could even be higher than that with the situation he's in. So I like that a lot. This net side, I need to know kind of who's starting. I think that matters. Also, you got Kyrie at 8.8, KD at 10K. I think Kyrie, because of the price and the position, he gets probably lower ownership. I think you can argue. It is nice that KD gets that small forward eligibility, though. Maybe that does bump his ownership up a little bit, but you're not going to be able to spend for everyone. And then one more thing to mention, one reason why I think Harden is sitting tonight is, well, what do you know? Who do they play on Wednesday? They play an ESPN game at Chicago. The Chicago Bulls, who are like kind of like Utah right now, you know, they feel disrespected. They want to, you know, beat these big teams. They want to win in the regular season and then prove that they're a good team. It's a game where you're going to see all those guys playing, and I can watch this game and I could see KD or Kyrie maybe get pulled a little bit earlier if this game gets out of hand because of that game on Wednesday. I mean, yes, they have extra days to rest, but you could just easily see that scenario if Portland really, really lays a giant egg on the game. So that's definitely worth looking into and thinking about when you're kind of rostering your options. And I think that some of these other guys that start, they could be in play. I just want to see kind of what happens. I want to see the starting lineups, and maybe that's the case to backload a little bit too, because you get that lineup, maybe you get some Philadelphia 76ers news, but you would miss out on some really good games early on where I don't think you want to completely do that.
Yep, definitely makes sense. Brian made a comment. He said Nurk played almost 40 minutes last night. He thinks the rookie might get a little more run. Like, if you want a reason to fade a chalky Nurkic, I think that would make sense. A back-to-back, they played big minutes. Almost 40 minutes for Nurkic is a lot. So Nurkic still a great play, very strong. I like him. But if you want to make a case like we made to fade Whiteside chalk, I think on a back-to-back, almost 40 minutes does make sense. So
well, I like it, Title. I like it a lot more because you have other options too, right? It's not just like you're sitting there and you're staring at, okay, he's clearly the best center, and like you're struggling for like value or something, and he's just such a good mid-tier option. And we did just get news that Fournier is a game-time decision, and we have Kemba is out and Noel is out. So that's the news that just came by.
Yeah, the Knicks side gets a little more appealing. Alec Burks, quickly, stuff like that. The Up to Lock show will take care of that, though. We do have one game left. We're going to have to get out in time for that. But yeah, make sure the Up to Lock show, the Knicks get a little interest. And this slate's getting more and more fun as the time goes on. It came on as a decent slate. I mean, I'll never complain about a 7-game NBA slate, but it's getting a lot of fun. So Up to Lock show, very important. Be in Discord, of course. Let's see the likes before we get to the last game. 295. You guys are absolutely crushing it. 300 should be easy. We definitely appreciate it. But the plays of the day are going to be coming for sure. The last game of the night, Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, 219.5 total. Cleveland is favored by 5.5. Go to the injury report on Cleveland. Ricky Rubio out, Colin Sexton out, Okoro is out, which does not matter at all. Go to the Sacramento side. Holmes out, Damian Jones out, Maurice Harkless is questionable. It's not a game I have too much interest in. We have a lot of good games. The games have been getting better and better with some of this news. We talked about fading one game completely, the Boston game. I think this game is a pretty easy fade too. If you wanted to do a Rondo or something at 3-3, I think we have better value. He's been playing good basketball though, like Barnes 5-4. I don't know, hoop. It's kind of a 7-game, make it a 5-gamer for me. Could one off something. What do you see?
Yeah, not a ton to like here. You know, the Cavs, like if you want to play Jared Allen, I think you can do that. Outside of him, though, I don't have much interest. And then on the King side, Harrison Barnes, 5K on FanDuel, like last guy type in. Like if you build the perfect lineup and you get everything you want and you can fit Harrison Barnes in there as your last piece, fine with that. Alex Len has been playing pretty well. I suppose you go to him, but I mean, there's just nothing to be all that excited about here in this game. You know, it's probably the second worst game after that Pacers Boston game. So a couple pieces, last guy type in plays, no like building blocks here for me.
I'm with you, Mangone. Anything in this game that we're missing?
No, I mean, definitely a bit of a brutal game. You could play some of these like big men, I think, on Sacramento as like interesting options. They don't have Jones. Bagley could do well, but like the bigs, it's just like a tough spot to target like Cleveland big men. It just, that's the issue I'm having here. You can do the Tristan Thompson revenge game if you'd like. I'm out on that. I don't think I'm going there. I think Fox and Halliburton, you can mix and match him or Buddy throughout your lineups, but not guys I'd want too much ownership on. My favorite game in this entire game is probably Rondo at 3-3. And you look at it in 17 minutes, and then he jumps up to 29 minutes. And man, Rondo, a little revenge game for him too against the old Sacramento, where he used to play with old Boogie Cousins. Rondo's definitely made his way around the league. I'm definitely a Rondo homer from his time with Boston, but I think Rondo is a guy that's going to be, he's going to be expensive soon. He's going to be someone once he slides into that starting lineup, or maybe they just keep him in that Rubio role all year. But if they do keep him in that Rubio role, he can produce, whether you think he's a good basketball player anymore or not, he can produce fantasy points. And at 3.3K against the Sacramento Kings in this matchup, he can produce fantasy points. Don't completely ignore him. And if you're playing the late slate, he's someone else to throw in there as a nice little value.
For sure. Before we get into the plays of the day, Richie Smalls asked, is Allen or Mobley a Nurk pivot? Would you, you can say neither. Personally, my answer is probably neither. I think there's Christian Wood, there's Embiid, there's Bobby Portis. Like the center's so loaded, I'm not even gonna guess. If you had a pick, or if you were gonna Mobley, Allen, or you just think there's better
on
options?
DK. Yeah, now that I look at this a little bit more on DK, it's hard. Like if you're gonna pivot off Nurkic, like on FanDuel, that's why I'd prefer Jared Allen, because you can play him at power forward. Playing the center though, man, there's like we talked probably about like 5 or 6 centers that we really like. Like I just can't go to Jared Allen. So I guess for me, my pivot would be Mobley, so I can put him into the forward spot. But this isn't a very appealing game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's better pivots out there, Richie. That's what I'll say.
If you do that, like if that is your plan, make sure not to like load the boat on Portland guys then, right? Like, and like run it back with Nets, like kind of stay away from that game. Maybe you can mix and match some, like a value or two, but like, don't just be like, okay, I'm going to play like a 6-game stack of this and then like make a pivot off Allen. I don't think that's the right way to do it. I think you can go to other games and other values instead, but don't completely ignore it, right? Maybe mix in a Ben McLemore because he's 3.3K and that's just too cheap and it's hard to bust at that price tag.
Yep, definitely like it. That was all 7 games. Got some injury news during it. The Knicks news up to lock. We'll touch on all the news. 7 games? We pretty much said we made it a 5-gamer. I think we went in depth with a lot of stuff. Fun slate. It's time for the plays of the day, though. You guys absolutely crushed the likes. We appreciate it, as always. I'm going to go to myself because I was struggling to find one that I did like, and I finally did find one that I think is going to be relatively low owned. A lot of upside. I'm going to go to my man, Bobby Portis. at 6.8K. He's only center eligible. There's so many good centers as we talked about. Last 2 games, 37 and 32 minutes with these injuries, 40 FanDuel or 40 fantasy points, 47 fantasy points. When Bobby Portis gets the minutes, double machine. He just played Charlotte. The usage is there, the rebounds there. I think Bobby Portis makes for a very strong play with a lot of upside at a very tough position, which will keep his ownership down a little bit. So Bobby Portis as the SO play of the day. Mangone, gonna head over to you. Dry Hunt play of the day. Who do you got for us?
Yeah, Fred VanVleet was good to me last week. So we got a nice
You
little
smashed
streak
it.
going.
You smashed it.
Yeah.
He's been crushing. So I want to say that he's been absolutely smashing for me. I keep riding that guy out, by the way. Don't give up on him. I want to make sure, that's a little advice to keep going for the next couple of weeks.
Underrated team too.
That whole team in general. I just wanted to call that out though, because they are going to still be good. It might not be him. Maybe you go down to some cheaper guys, but they're very underrated. But I want to talk about the Royce O'Neal pivot. Let's do that. Like it kind of pairs with your guy title. So if you're building a lineup, right, and you want to plug in 2 of our plays, then throw hoops in there as well. Royce at 4.5K. I think he's just too cheap. And like if Whiteside fails and you do play a Bobby Portis, then what happens? Well, you put Royce O'Neal in your lineup. He's going to be low owned and he doesn't have to do that much of that price tag. So I'm going with Royce O'Neal, especially now the value we have. Let's say you fade a Giannis, you fade Giannis at the power forward spot. You do it for a Bobby Portis, possibly. You get Kevin Durant, right? I mean, there's ways that you can make all this kind of work out with playing those 2 guys together title. So give me Royce O'Neal as my nice little leverage play off Hassan Whiteside.
I think that makes a lot of sense for sure. Yeah, Friday, you said, I hope to come back in Monday and talk about Fred VanVleet. 1% absolutely broke the slate. Finally, I made a good call. It's been a struggle this year in the NBA streets for the SO. It's not been the best, but Tim Hardaway got there, pretty low ownership too. Can't remember whose hoops was, but Mangone, you broke the slate, 1% FVV. Ooh, take it home for us. The Rich Parents play of the day. Who do you got?
Yeah, Rich Parents play of the day. I was pretty set on this guy when we talked about him in this game, and the news just broke in his favor and could break in his favor a little bit more. It's going to be RJ Barrett playing a ton of minutes. Gets a good matchup here against the Spurs on the back-to-back. Has been playing well, streaky player. We get the Kemba news now that he's out. It's a boost for him. And then if Fournier's out, it'd be even a bigger boost. So RJ Barrett as the Rich Parents play of the day.
RJ Barrett, Royce O'Neal, Bobby Portis. Very fun show. Richie Small, as you said, that was a quick show for a 7-gamer. What do you mean? Usually it's like a 12-gamer and we're getting done right about now. That was one of the longer shows for a 7-gamer. We had fun. Talked a lot basketball, talked some football. Tonight, big game. Make sure you check out Bruce's playbook, Big T's core play. Mangone, some people are asking for you to drop a Showdown core tonight. So hopefully I'll see you in there with the Showdown college football core. Videos up, Big T did earlier. So make sure to check all the college football content. The Up to Lock show, very important. We'll be breaking everything down. Playbook, core plays, cash chart, everything will be up as usual. But we appreciate you guys all hanging out with us. It was a lot of fun. Hope to see some RPS logos up top tonight. But that'll do it for us. For Hoop, Mangone, Simon behind the sticks. I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.